All right, guys, welcome to today's Local Yokels Podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Today, I want to make sure we thank first and foremost our sponsors for the show, which is RoofWorks Roofing Company. You can reach them at roofworksmidsouth.com, or you can call Josh over there at 901-500-7235. I want to thank Randy and Miss Kay for being a sponsor, ongoing support in everything we do. Also, we have a new sponsor this coming episode, and will probably be ongoing for the rest of the year at least. It's going to be Hamilton Landscaping and Lawn. My good friend Scott over there wanted to be a part of the show, and I want to thank him for being a very big supporter of ours. So we want to support him back. If you guys are interested in getting a quote on your yard, having it sprayed, cut, I believe he does the cutting. He does everything. Matter of fact, I think Scott will build you a deck if you decided to have one done. He's one of those kind of guys. But give him a call at 662-420-6428. And as always, remember our Feed My Lambs program where we do food pack security on Fridays for all the little kids at Walls Elementary and Lake Commonwealth Elementary here in DeSoto County, Mississippi. So you can reach them at minormemorial.org/lambs, or you can call them at 662-781-1333. And if you guys wanted to make a small donation, maybe sponsor a kid or donate some food or just how to be a volunteer, that'd be a great program to get involved with. They're really essential to our community. And it's obviously where I put my heart in. So thank y'all for being a part of the show. And with us today, we have a couple of special guests that are really impactful in our community. And I've been talking to a friend of mine, Coach Camp, that does another podcast, Motivated with Coach Camp, here at the SRP Studios with Derek Michaud in Hernando, Mississippi, because they're good friends of his. He's actually with them throughout the program, and is probably their pitch man, I would say, just because of his personality and how he is. But very, very intriguing individuals because they do so much for our community. And I wanted to talk about what they are bringing to the table individually, how they got here. And that is going to be Mr. Stacy Dodd and Mr. Kenney McKinney with the Hope Center. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Did y'all bring the coffee? I meant to bring coffee and donuts.
Oh, man.
Would y'all have had some?
He would have.
Yes, I'm going to say yes.
You would have said
a yes for me.
All right, man. Well, look, next time I'll remember that. But it was a little early show. We're actually doing this in the morning. Normally it's afternoon stuff, so I don't even think about food till after we get done and we're in the dinner phases of the world. So, but anyway, guys, thank you for coming in today. And the Hope Center, we do a lot for that. Mr. Kenney McKinney is also a principal here in DeSoto County for our school district. And I want to start off with you this morning, and you'll talk about a little bit what you do, of course, and what your job is and career, and then how you're involved in the Hope Center.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this really short.
I don't believe it.
Because I've been living for a long time.
Okay.
But at first, I started out my educational career in Job Corps.
Okay.
Gulfport Job Corps, as a matter of fact,
Gulfport.
on the coast.
Right.
Yeah. At that time, the students you had a choice to be incarcerated or get a skill and a GED.
Yeah.
At that time, it has improved so much more now, technology-wise. But at that time, that was the choice. And those guys come from Chicago, Detroit. They were getting them out of that environment.
And bringing them down here.
Wow. So they could survive. Right. In most cases, that kept them alive. And those kids, most of the time, didn't go back. They got a skill and they stayed around in the southern areas. And that's where I cut my teeth in education. I either decided then whether I was going to teach or not. Because when you got people that were used to doing illegal things like those guys, that old adage of they have to know how much you care before they can teach them anything, then that was true. So once they found out you really cared, because they had no idea other than the gangs that people cared about them other than that type of love. So once they found that out, they would do anything for you.
Was this in the 40s? I'm just joking. We were talking before the show about how old he was. He was teasing us about it. You were saying how old he was.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm guessing in the 80s is typically what you're talking about here. So it's like a primitive Job Corps, like opposed to what it is now.
Absolutely.
So they're literally taking guys out of the inner cities who were just like gang members and saying, look, this is your last shot. Before, like probably prison or hardcore military school of some kind, right? So,
Absolutely.
Gotcha. And I know it has evolved since then.
It has.
I'm not going to lie to you. It may need to go back to that because things are rough. Like I think that may be a better way of doing things like they used to do.
A lot of things needs to go back. Yeah. I agree, because they work.
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't stop working, just new technology.
No, that's right. That's right. So while you were down there, you kind of found your path in life. Were you in trouble as well?
Kind of.
Were you? No. Were you in trouble with some kid? We don't want to get into the bad stuff that Mr. McKinney did in his early days, but you were there for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
I had just gotten out of the Air Force, as a matter of fact, at Keesler Air Force Base.
Okay.
And kind of looking for a job, I was called to the ministry. This was 1987. And so that's a long time ago. So,
well, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm not that far,
Okay.
behind. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I cut my teeth in my educational career. From there, I started, got a job in Greenwood, stayed about a year, then decided to come back home to Itawamba County, Fulton, Mississippi.
That's right.
Nobody knows where that is. I know, but somebody out there, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably do around here. So
absolutely. Yep. That's where I was born and raised, and I went back and had the great opportunity to be assistant principal there for about 4 years. And a lot of the teachers that were still there, not a lot, but one or two was there since I graduated. And that was a unique experience, having them call me like Mr. Boss and Super Mr. Yeah. It was a strange feeling.
I got you.
But yeah, from there, I got a job in DeSoto County. Yeah. And about 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, and started working. This is one of the greatest school districts. Of course, I'm biased. That's in the state. It's the largest in the state, as a matter of fact.
Is it?
Yes, it's the largest in the state of Mississippi. And to be an A district, to have 42, 43 schools is unheard of.
Right.
And we've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. Wow. We have a great leader, Mr. Usselton. Corey Usselton is a great leader. He not only leads, he leads by example. And he does a lot of things with the state. I think he's the state leading superintendent over the superintendents of the state. So he's a great man. And we appreciate their partnership with the Hope Center. They have partnered with us. They have given us the keys to a lot of places. It's just been fantastic.
Yeah, gyms and stuff like that for you to impact your young folks that you're trying to mentor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Thank you, Mr. Usselton, for providing that opportunity for these guys, because I know a lot of times the trust factor comes into play.
It does.
Especially opening doors. But I think that, one of the things we lack in this community, in every community in America, is the lack of community centers.
Yes.
Yeah. So if all things, and I don't need to be hit a hammer or take a hammer to a nail, but that is one thing DeSoto County is lacking in, is good youth programs with community centers. I don't know if we got any in the whole county. So if any of you aldermen are listening out there, please try to put in a budget. I know the concerns are about, the hanging out and stuff like that, but man, that's really like, we all grew up, I think all of us did, with some type of community event center in our communities. And it might even, like churches now are kind of probably the place where people gravitate. Some of the wealthier churches or bigger churches might have a gymnasium or something, or an auditorium to where you can do that. Thankfully, that exists. But having just not everybody wants to be a part of that particular church, or they feel pressure or something, but a place where the kids can go after school or on the weekends to kind of try to, fellowship a little bit, learn to get to know your neighbors, have people in place like yourselves teaching them how to get along with others and how being a contributing part of the community is important. So now back onto your story, I got my little rant over, because that is a big thing for me. The community centers are a big thing for me.
Well, actually, that's what got me started. When I got to Horn Lake, I started looking for something or somebody to say, hey, we need the youth to do something. Because when I got here, I saw that the youth didn't have many places to go, and that was on my mind too. Well, you take a young man, he has nothing to do. He's going to go in Dollar General and he's going to pick up a few things because, hey, he has time on his hand.
With no money. Right.
And so one of the things that emerged out of not having, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, emerged the Hope Center. The ideal that we have now. Right. We had that idea when we first started. They need somewhere to go every weekend, and that's what we were doing. We were fulfilling that, and we were doing. It was good at the time. It was really good. But what evolved now is even better in the system that we have now. But I'll say this: I was searching and looking for people, and I'm gonna let Stacy start after I stop this at this point.
Okay.
So I was working assistant principal at Horn Lake Intermediate, and I knew that the youth had to do something. I knew that they were getting in trouble. I saw that. It was evident. And then I was just sitting in my office one day, and somebody said, somebody's here to see you. I'm like, okay, all right, well, I'll talk to him, you know. And they brought Stacy around to my office. And when he opened his mouth, it was a God thing. When he opened his mouth, it was as if God said, okay, you've been waiting. This time I prepared this time for right now. And when Stacy come in and tell me what was on his heart, tears just start rolling down my eyes, because I knew how much that I've been turned away and tried to do things. And to have somebody come in that God chose, like this man right here, Stacy Dodd, to lead what we have now, it was incredible. And tears just started flowing. Amazing. And we started talking, and
you found your partner.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
He just showed up out of the blue. Now, Stacy, how did you just find Kenneth out of nowhere? Were you looking for him? Did you find out about him somewhere? Or?
Like many things, you're not looking for things, but God leads you right to them.
Right.
I believe God's intentional and precise. But the story of a quick story about how all that took place. Years ago, I had a dream. I noticed there was nowhere for people to go. Right. Like single people, right? And so I had this coffee shop plan, a for-profit plan with an event center. I had it all, it was all ready. Wasn't even a wrinkle in it.
Right.
And my mom got sick, and I kind of got put up on the shelf, and but it was prepared by the business college downtown in Memphis. It was pristine. And it just didn't work out at the time. My mom got sick. I was taking care of her. And 2 days after my mom passed away, I got a call from the DeSoto County supervisors. A friend of mine at church said, "Hey, the supervisors are wanting to know, what we can do to help Horn Lake, and would you go with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I took my Celebrate Recovery stuff and my Bible and all this stuff and went and had
About what year was this, Stacy?
This was around 2014.
Okay, about a decade ago. Okay.
And so I went down and I met with, I remember Miss Lee Caldwell was there. I can't remember what other supervisor. I think maybe Mark Gardner may have been there. But there was a table, and we went to the supervisor's office, and we just sat down and started talking. And I asked them the same thing. I said, "Don't we have a community center?" And they were like, "No." And so, they were trying to come up with a program specifically for Horn Lake. And so, as a religious thing, the schools really can't tell them they have to go to church.
That's right.
But it can be an elective.
Sure.
Okay. And so there was all these little bitty barriers, not a lot of barriers, but on my way home from the conversation that day, I was driving down the road, and I'm like, you know what? That business plan needs to be turned into a 501.
Right.
And God just spoke clearly. And so I immediately got an appointment, took it back downtown. They redid it as a 501, and we launched what's called the Hope Center. It's a 501 nonprofit. It's a non-religious 501. And that we formed that in 2014. And so, I walked into his office that day, and so I knew that I found a friend, right? God led me right to the person that I needed to be with, right?
So you were just at the school looking for help?
With a piece of paper.
Yeah.
No logo, no nothing.
Right, but just looking for somebody to say, we're in.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I found it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so since that day, we have been connected. We started doing the only thing we knew to do. We would do open gyms. And so we would have $300 worth of pizzas delivered.
Sure.
And the kids would be all coming up on their bikes, and we would play basketball, and we did giveaways, and we even had the Harlem Legends come out and do a really expensive show. But it was a basketball show. And so we started out doing the open gyms. DeSoto County opened their doors to us because of his connection. We had that trust, right? And so they've been phenomenal. Nick Tungett and all of the principals, and especially Mr. Olselton.
Yes.
But they've opened their doors to us, and we've been working with them for a long time. Brown Baptist was our founding sponsor. And they're phenomenal. We work with them regularly. Our South Haven conference this year will be at Brown Baptist in South Haven. But anyway, we started doing it, and another miracle happened. I was working at my job, Turning Point, at the Recovery Center. It's Woodland Recovery now, but it was Turning Point back then. And this man showed up at my front door at work, kind of like I showed up at his front door. And they said, "Mr. Roy Ray's here." Mr. Roy Ray is a retired Army colonel that was really big in the Rotary. And he's probably, he's probably in his 80s now. Right. Incredible man. And my office called me. They said, "Hey, you got a visitor at the front. Mr. Roy's here." And I'm like, "What's Mr. Roy doing here?" Because I didn't have an appointment, just like when I showed up at his office, right? And he was in my office for about 20 minutes. And he said, "We're looking for programs like yours to become a Memphis Grizzlies mentorship affiliate partner. Yeah. And the next morning I got an email and we were a mentor Memphis Grizzlies affiliate partner. And so we've been partnering with them. They train us. We go through the most incredible training. We follow the national mentoring model, which is the best in the world.
Right.
And they train us about matching and monitoring and screening and background checks. And I mean, all of these incredible things, everything from recruiting and raising money. I mean, all these things. And so it took us 9 years. But we got our first check from the Memphis Grizzlies last year.
Wow.
And so we get installments. We have to do certifications. So we have to show them that we're doing background checks. We have to show them that we're doing monitoring. You can tell people, like when you're doing an inspection, like with the Department of Mental Health or Joint Commission or whatever, you say, yeah, we're doing this. They say, well, okay, but show me. Right? Mm-hmm. So we go through those certifications and we have a great partnership with them. Sometimes
But it took a long time to get there.
9 years.
Yeah, so this wasn't an overnight, hey, the Grizzlies showed up. No, and they're going to give us a buttload of money.
No, it's like, we're going to help you, but how bad do you want it?
Yeah, you're going to have to work for this.
They give you nothing.
Yeah.
And so we go down and do trainings with them, in-person trainings. I think we did 300 hours last year.
Wow.
Last year, in 2024, we were the mentoring program of the year for the whole city of Memphis.
Wow, that's amazing.
55 programs like YMCA, Streets Ministries. We won.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we're not even in Memphis. We're kind of out here. And
well, I think that probably just much like this show, The Local Yokels, it's kind of like we're part of it. I don't think we like to admit it sometimes as a county, but we're certainly part of the Memphis culture, and we live just minutes away in a lot of cases, as we were discussing. So I would say you're definitely part of the Memphis group,
it took a long time, a lot of hard work, not giving up. And, but one of the things that they taught us, which is critical to what we do. So the open gyms were great. It's like 300 kids were off the streets. They were getting a little bit of investments, but not. The Grizzlies taught us the power of the one-to-one mentoring.
Sure.
So they would rather have us, like today, we're up to like 20 families. Mm-hmm. We have 40 active matches. So that means 40 young kids, 3rd through 12th grade, are being mentored one-on-one with our mentors. We recently had some DeSoto County sheriffs join as mentors, and it's just really growing. We have chief operating officers. We have principals. We have professors. We have sheriffs. We have all these people that are incredible, like leaders in the community that are our mentors. Mm-hmm. And so when they taught us the one-to-one mentoring program, we started trying to figure out exactly how we need to implement this, right? And so the Grizzlies have 4 key components to being a mentor, right? So you have to you spend 1 hour a month with them one-to-one. Mm-hmm. And we don't do private mentoring. We don't go in private rooms. We don't go in private houses. We go to like coffee shops. We go to the movies. We go to the zoo. We go to Grizzlies games. We go to hustle games. We go bowling. We go skating. But we invite the whole family. So let's just say we have quite a few grandmothers now that have adopted their grandkids to keep them out of foster care. Mm-hmm. So this grandmother might be in her 60s and she's got 3 teenagers. And when she looks at you, her eyes are like, she's like tired.
What do I do? I need some help.
Yeah. So when we're very unique. Our futuristic model is very unique. So there's no building, there's no salaries. Everybody's a volunteer. All the money goes back into the kids. But now they're getting deeply invested in.
Sure.
So we do the one-to-one mentoring. The families come out. We go out to eat. We do all the cost is covered. The families have no cost when we do these things. And so then we text with our mentees. We call our mentees. We do the one-to-one. Then we usually do a community event once a month. So that's bowling, skating. We go to Strike Zone. We come to virtual reality. We do all kinds of
great age group, so people understand what's hearing this, because I know we glossed over kind of what the meaning of the Hope Center was a little bit. But the age group y'all are working with, kind of explain to folks about that a little bit, like what your target goal is.
It's 3rd through 12th grade.
Right.
But we don't ever turn anyone away.
Right.
So if we don't ever turn anyone away. Right. I mean, I've got mentees that are like 40.
Right. Well, I may be your newest one. I'm 52, so you may be working with me pretty soon. But so that people understand what the clarification of the Hope Center is, just kind of gloss over that just a little bit, what your goal is with this.
So we are a mentoring program, and we focused on the national mentoring program. So we follow that model, and we one-to-one mentor kids. Some people call them at-risk youth because of different reasons, different demographics and everything. But we have all kinds of kids.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter what their background is. It doesn't matter who they are. And it's the most diverse culture.
Sure.
Like wherever we go somewhere, our culture goes, the culture of love, and we just love unconditionally.
White, black, Hispanic, it doesn't matter.
You should come check it out sometime.
Yeah, I will.
Absolutely.
I will.
It's like heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And wherever we go, it doesn't matter where we go, that love is just the high energy and the love is just flowing.
Is it mostly young men?
No.
So you got boys and girls.
All kinds.
Okay.
And the grandmothers and the parents, they're having more fun than the kids sometimes.
Well, it allows them to be free a little bit.
Yes.
You know?
No, and it gives them a great Saturday. Like, a Saturday these days, like if you were to take 3 kids out to the movies and go out to eat, I mean, you're looking at $200 or
Oh my goodness, yes.
And so we cover for all of it. I mean, the donations go for all of that. But the thing about that's the most powerful part of it is that you don't understand what you're doing just by spending a little bit of time with that kid.
Mm-hmm.
We have them like when we started in 2014, we had a couple of kids and they sang as our event. I think they were in the 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They had a bow tie. They're singing, right? So last year, Brown Baptist gave us $1,000 gift.
Nice.
And so Mr. Eric is the COO for Brown Baptist, phenomenal human being.
Yes.
Pastor Orr, Mr. Eric, I mean, phenomenal human being. Mr. Eric has come in. He's one of our mentors, and he connects us to people all over the state, way down the state, the Youth Violence Coalition. I mean, Mr. Eric is just this amazing man.
Sure.
So he came into our lives, and they gave us a gift. And so part of that gift is Fox 30. I think it's WMC TV 5. I think it is. 3 or 5?
I think it's 3.
WMCV channel, the news
That's
channel.
Channel 5, actually, WMCT, I think. WREG is 3, I think.
Okay.
So they came
That's
out.
correct.
Let's get this straight, folks.
That's correct. Yes.
And so to as part of your $1,000 donation that they give us, they do a show on a commercial.
Right.
And so they came out to Brown Baptist. We set it all up. And when Mr. Eric called those 2 boys that sang at our first event, and now they're grown. I mean, they're grown, well dressed. I mean,
mid-20s. They're
really
mid-20s.
hip, really hip, smart young men.
Right.
And one of them got on there and he said, I don't know. He did an interview like this kind of with WMC, and he said, I don't know what would have happened if I wouldn't have had a mentor.
Sure.
And he said, he was talking about me a little bit, and he said, we noticed something when we were kids, and he said, what was that? He said, he was the only one trying to help us.
Yeah.
He said, they were the only ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, that spoke a lot to us. And they were just talking about it. And so you don't understand the impact that you have, but it's there. It's in their heart.
Sure.
And they remember it.
Sure.
And our goal, we're getting older, obviously. And, our goal is to turn it over to these kids that have been impacted by it. And that's what it's all about. Our young kids, we have I think we have probably 10 that are in their teens, like juniors, seniors. They will be running this thing soon.
Sure.
And the one-to-one relationship is where you deeply impact that person for life. Playing basketball is one thing, having fun is one thing, but when you invest in that person and help them believe in themselves, and that's where our conferences come in. We always wanted to do something. Part of our motto is to equip leaders, future leaders, invest in our community. That's part of our top 3 motto, right? So we were thinking, how can we do this? And so we came up with something. It's like a John Maxwell conference, and we do these. We did 4 last year, DeSoto County. We did Horn Lake, South Haven, Hernando, and Olive Branch. And this year we're moving into Tate County, actually in just a couple of days.
Nice.
And but we have Mayor Musselwhite, we have Sheriff Tuggle come out, we have Judge Celeste come out, we have people from the Memphis Grizzlies, people from the Streets Ministries from over in Memphis. We have some of those powerful leaders that impacted our lives. Right? Mr. McKinney speaks often. And we come together for a 4-hour conference, just like a big conference, like for CEOs and stuff, but it's for kids. And so we have the pamphlets, the catalogs. It's got the people where you take notes, it's just like a John Maxwell conference.
Sure.
Lunch is served. We're sitting around a table with the seated plates and all that stuff. And all these top leaders, Sheriff Tuggle, Darren Musselwhite, Judge Celeste, all these leaders are sharing their leadership lessons with them, like when they failed, what they struggled with, why they lead, and giving, and really deeply invest in these kids. These kids get their picture taken with the sheriff. You should see it. It is like, when you get your picture taken, I never had my picture with the sheriff,
Yeah.
And then the speakers are just melting, and the kids are melting. We give them awards, for speaking, and we have the photo ops and all that stuff. But these kids are really, the conferences has been one of the greatest things that we've done.
It's impactful.
And it cost us a lot of money the first year to do it. But this year, we're on schedule for 5. And so it is when you take the one-to-one mentoring, you take the community events, and you take the conferences, it's a really powerful combination.
Oh, I believe it 100%. I think that the impact is showing up every day. I mean, as your program grows, more and more people become aware. That's what I want to have you on today. Why I wanted to have you come on today is to talk about the importance of the impact it's had on our community, and not just Horn Lake where it started, but countywide. I'm guessing little by little you're getting people crawling from all over the place trying to find you to get involved, and that's amazing.
Well, one of the things that happened that we really didn't understand was going to happen. And so many things have happened in our life we didn't understand.
Right.
We weren't really looking at God. God just found us with it. When we do that community event, so you just brought together law enforcement, 501s, churches, single parents, people from youth villages. Youth villages sends us a lot of people.
Sure.
A lot of therapists. I work in the healthcare space with addiction recovery, and so a lot of those therapists and different programs send people to us. But what it did, it was connected the whole community. So you have the chamber, you have the sheriff, you have the judges, you have the mayors, and you have all these different businesses, Brown Baptist, and all these big
local ministries as well.
All of these big ministries come together for that one, and it unifies the whole community. It unifies the whole community.
And we need more of that, like in every aspect. I mean, I'm saying, like, you listen to what the Hope Center is, you can get involved, you can volunteer, you can donate, you can be a big supporter. But if you're motivated to do your own thing, that's awesome too. I tell people all the time, like, why has it got to be so unique that just these two incredible individuals stepped up to the plate to put their time, their efforts for no gain. I mean, you have no gain from this, like financially, or I'm sure there's lots of times, like my wife, when I'm laying awake at 11 o'clock at night on the phone talking to somebody about feed my lambs or something coming up. She's like, are you ever going to go to sleep? Like, I'm sure y'all go through this all the time. So a lot of times, I don't know if y'all watch some of the podcasts, my buddy Randy Hendrickson, who I call him buddy, is a brother. You know what I mean? We met late in life, much like you guys did. And we just kind of like had similar ideas. We're two different people about how we approach it, but we have the same ideas about helping. And, a lot of people think there's got to be some kind of game for them. What are they getting out of this? Is it a write-off? Because we're just like two blue-collar guys, And by the way, he and I are neither one tied spiritually to anything. It's unique. Like, I'm not going to tell you I'm a non-believer, nor is he, but I'm just saying we're not church-going guys. We're not whatever. We just want to help people, especially the children in the community, the disenfranchised, if you will. It's kind of like our goal. And so I've had someone, my mother, by the way, I always like to bring her up because she's such an inspiration for so many people. Her name was Miss Nancy Colley, Fancy Nancy, if you will. She worked at Wallace Elementary for years and years and kind of become a liaison for the Feed My Lambs program, where we feed the kids on the weekends. And they just recently named the clothes closet after her because she was always trying to keep them dressed. She was that lady, you know what I mean? So a little bit of a rock star and all that good stuff. But once people, she passed away, and I had a friend of mine who, by the way, I was on the phone with just before we come in, and he'd known me for years, and he's like, Neil, was Nancy your mama? And I was like, yeah. He goes, my girls are over here crying their eyes out. Did she just pass? And I'm like, yes. He said, now everything makes sense what you do. He said, I literally thought you were doing it for a tax write-off. I'm like, man, I don't even know if you can write that off, what we do. Like, I'm not even sure it's possible. But so there is, what I'm trying to get at is there's this need to help that just is within some people. Like, and sometimes there's an individual call to action. You say it's from the Lord above. My mom said I was doing God's work. That's what she's always telling me. She goes, you just don't know it yet. That's what she'd tell me.
That's exactly right.
And so, and my brother
Your mom
too.
was right.
Yeah, and my brother too, by the way. They're both very, very, very close to God. And so I'm like, if you say so, I'm just doing what I feel I'm compelled to do. You know what I mean? And I'm not closed-minded to it, but, I don't see it that way. But anyway, just people stepping up, not on the behalf of your church, because y'all weren't doing that. Y'all were doing this on the behalf of trying to get something going for the local kids and trying to spiritually at some point probably tie that in. But initially it was just kind of like give them good leadership skills, how to become a future leader, and even just a good, like, general good citizen in our communities, teaching them how to give back. There's other programs out there. I deal with a group called the Demolay Boys. I was telling Stacy about that. A friend of mine, Adam Henson's the president of the whole state. I didn't even know about this thing. It's been around since like the 1820s, apparently. John Wayne was a Demolay boy. And I didn't even know that, So very similar things that what y'all are doing. However, probably not as well aware, but they do the same thing. It's a age group between certain ages, and then they do the similar things y'all do, but it's a little more tied into, I really don't even know, to be honest with you, the whole background of it. But again, just trying to teach responsibility, owning, your decisions, being a good part of the community, helping others, that kind of thing. The same type of thing I'm sure y'all are teaching, and how to get, obviously the starting point sometimes is you can, just how to get along with others. That's sometimes a starting point,
Absolutely.
So I love the idea of what y'all do. I want to tell you thank you, because I know you probably don't get as much appreciation, and people don't realize what you are giving up in your lives. Like, I'm sure you're dragging your wives to these things, and they're like, again, well, didn't we just have one of those, And it's not that they're resistant to it. It's just like, golly, these guys are dedicated. You know what I mean? So I got to be dedicated as the spouse. And then they become believers and understand it. And then they see the importance. It takes a little bit. Always the family's not just really behind you either, So, they're like, this is a lot of work. What are we getting out of this again? Yeah. Yeah, we're doing good. That's what we're doing. So thank y'all for that. And I know that I know there's no other reward than just what you mentioned earlier, Stacy, about your relationship with God, knowing you're doing the right thing. So I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Same thing with you, Mr. McKinney.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously, I talk about this in our own program. We're an aging group. We all hope to live to be 100, but it is not likely. And we're still capable as age goes, but the people involved in my program are on their 70s and 80s. And I'm always looking for the replacements. Even me, I love helping, but at some point I want to move on and help the Hope Center. I want to move on and help the House of Grace, or whatever it may be. Not that I want to leave these guys behind, but I've set a blueprint. We need people to step up within the system that we've showed this blueprint to. And you're saying you've got those guys that are now aging, hopefully in a fashion where y'all can be assistants and guidance, and obviously somebody they can call upon and go, hey, what would you do here? Mm-hmm. How do we do this? And then y'all are just in the background kind of helping them, guide them, but they're the forefront of it. They become the new Stacy and Kenneth of the Hope Center. And so that's important, and just getting involved in that aspect is huge, and it doesn't mean that you have to run it, but you can be a part of the volunteer process of it. And again, talking about this, tell people where they can reach out to you through social media, websites, whatever, to where if they want to get involved, how they can have an impact, telephone numbers. I know you're like me. You're completely crazy because you probably give your phone number to everybody you meet.
I do.
Yeah, and I put it out on the air all the time. And that's okay, because that is how we become who we are. It's because we realize if we don't do it, who's going to do it for this program. So I get it. But go ahead, Stacy, tell them your contact information.
So you can always reach us at my personal phone number, which is 901-484-8429. And our website, we have an amazing website. Trish Toomey has MessinaMedia.com, and she is fabulous at being a creative director, and she does all of our social stuff, all of our website.
Sure.
But she has created a fabulous website. It's called Hope Center, USA.com.
Nice.
So Hope Center, all one word, Hope Center, USA.com. We're available on social media 24/7. People would reach out to us all the time. We add them to the group me and get them plugged in. They just immediately start attending our events.
Sure.
We get them matched up and things like that.
Yeah. How about you, Mr. McKinney?
Absolutely. My number is 662-401-0111.
My principal giving his phone number out on a podcast. Again, repeat it just so everybody heard.
662-401-0111.
And okay, that sounds great. Any kind of email or anything you want to put out there for?
Well, you can reach us. We can get the Hope Center email.
The Hope Center USA at gmail.com.
Okay, very good, very good. And Derek will put all that on our intro, outro stuff as well. He'll have that down for us at his wonderful SRP studios. He's also an amazing producer.
We are, to just keep in mind too, while we have the audience, any single mothers, any families that are struggling, maybe financially, or maybe kids may be skipping school, or maybe experimenting with weed or alcohol, or getting introduced to gangs and things like anything. That's what we look for.
Yeah. So maybe even someone that's in a domestic situation. Yeah. Like when I was talking about the Hope Center, or not the Hope Center, but the House of Grace, I realized that these ladies just don't come by themselves. They bring in kids with them most of the time, because the kids are also part of the Survivor series. You know what I mean? Is that they got to call it the Survivor's House versus the Abuse House. And I love that, because it is a path to survivorship, But I'm sure there's a lot of that to where, if you're hearing this out there and you've got a situation where you just need to get your kid out of the house for a few hours here and there and, with some like non-drama, stressful stuff going on before you can make your move out, maybe this is a good place to reach out to, and they can help make the connections for you to get to the right place.
We've had kids, family before that had tried everything with their young daughter. She was struggling really bad mental health.
Yeah.
She was, having trips to different hospitals and different things like that. And they said, we've tried everything else. We're going to try the Hope Center. Mm-hmm. And the next year, she was our mentee of the year. She's making straight A's man. And she's. I mean, it's
what
just
an example.
It's the non-judgmental. We're not telling them to march and stand up and do this and that. It's just unconditional love. Have fun. Get around positive role models and just love each other.
And also find out what makes them tick. You know what I mean? Like that's the trick behind a lot of it. I think personally, just my opinion, I have no educational background in any of this. So y'all can say that's bull crap if you want to, but I firmly believe, and this, Mr. Kenneth, that from the school point of like feeding the kids, just making sure they're fed well on the weekends. We talked about those programs, how essential they are just for nutritional value so they can learn and behave and pay attention and things. It starts so early on. With just food, nutrition's a huge part of it in their developmental skills. And if they can't, if you're hungry, even as an adult, we're just like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, imagine being a little child to where you don't even have the concept of why you're hungry, and it's sometimes a lack of resources, whatever. There's no money qualifier in what we do for sure, and certainly not what y'all do. It's like, hey, if you need us, we're here. It doesn't matter. You don't need to qualify for this. It's not the free lunch program.
That's right.
This is absolutely, we're trying to help you as individuals. We don't care if you're millionaires. If you've got a situation where you need a kid
absolutely
to be around some good people and push them in the right direction and show them some guidance at their own pace, by the way. I'm sure I've read up on that stuff enough to know that there's no military style, marching like you said, Stacy, in the ideas of like, you're going to do this and going to do that. It's all love and trying to push them in the path that I guess allows them to be creative in what they like. And you said you took that one lady or the one young lady that she was failing school, behavioral issues, and now she's your mentee of the year. That's an amazing story, and
she's at every event dressed up and she's ready.
She's ready. She's ready to go. She's excited, and that will impact her life 20 years from now.
Absolutely.
She may be
running
the whole thing. Yeah. So that's what you need behind that. So it's our future, and that's what I'm talking about when we start feeding them. It's the behavioral issues sometimes can be, you have wonderful parents at home. They got great jobs, but there's something missing in there. And as a parent, we don't know how to really recognize, especially with your own kid. You just like,
right.
You just get like, what else do I do?
Right.
Well, somebody like y'all in particular, you can step back from the outside and see sometimes from the outside looking in what maybe the problems are. Whereas a parent, I'm very much like, I'm trying my best, but I got blinders on. I'm not trained. I'm not educated. I'm not anything. And so like I decide, well, I'm just going to punish them, and that's probably not the case it's probably the opposite of what you really need to do.
It's the same thing. Like when I work with a lot of people with addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the addicted person, whether it's alcohol, which is just as bad as drugs,
sure,
or worse, they're never going to listen to their family.
Never.
The last person on earth that they're going to listen to is their family.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're telling the truth, if you're absolutely right, if you do everything right. It's just a trend.
Sure.
And I didn't listen to my parents years ago and I ended up in a bad place. But it's just like the same thing you say with this. Like it's that's where the mentoring comes in.
Yeah.
A total stranger comes in and is your friend, and just we don't tell them what to do. We just help them brainstorm.
You allow
and we help them discover their own gifts.
That's right. To find their own creative force, if you will. I want to transition that a little bit from what you do besides the Hope Center. You both are deeply entrenched in the community beyond that. So your day jobs, for instance, I know with Kenneth here, you're a principal at Hope Sullivan Elementary and very diverse school. I'm aware of that. And the need there is much like it is in the Delta schools. There's a lot of, disenfranchised families there, a great mix of folks, which I love the diversity of schools. Like I don't like them to be too much one way or the other.
Yes.
I think it's good to be around all people, because I was raised in a very diverse school. Coming up, I lived in Alabama, and I just think it was the most amazing gift I could have had in my life because it made me understand how other people saw things. If we'd have been, extremely one way or the other, I wouldn't have got the exposure I think I needed to have great people in my life that I continue to call a friend to this day. and I think the teachers being different colors were important, and the other children, it just allows us to all kind of blend together, and become a unique community.
Absolutely.
And then, you get in certain parts in Mississippi, we know that can be one way or the other, very much extreme. So, DeSoto County as a whole is pretty diverse, especially in the northern part of the county. And so your experience with that, would you say that you enjoy that aspect of it just because of the continual diversity of the ever-growing population of DeSoto County? How do you try to, work with that? And do you also seek out individuals in your school that you see that may be a good fit for the Hope Center? Look for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. First, I not only think is what I do, but it's my purpose.
Sure.
Because of our diversity, I love to teach things that are going to improve a person's life. That's the number one thing. Our school is diverse. We have like 20% Hispanic culture population there too, and so we're
not all English speaking either.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I like to remind people like there's a need for that big time.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
And I start to try early to get them to know, like our second graders. If you get you learn 2 languages, you're ahead.
You're ahead.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And those are the things before they even get to 3rd through the 12th grade. If you put that in them right there, then a whole lot of things. And that's our school. We try to give them that experience of what it looks like to be in a good, great, loving, caring school. Because if they don't get that, the rest of their career, their school career, it's going to be you're trying to catch up with them loving school, loving to read. You're not going to get them to read unless they love school.
Sure.
And that's one of our objectives there. And our teachers, I will say this, I am so proud of our teachers. They take this and they give those kids that experience that they don't get exposed to.
Right.
They may not get to go to Disneyland, or maybe not, but those things that they are missing in their life, we try to give them those experiences to those kids.
Sure.
And I'm so thankful for our partners. We have several partners, several churches. South Point is one of our partners, and they encourage our teachers. They encourage, if there's a need, I can say we don't have one need that has not been fulfilled at our school. I mean, from the house burning to whatever the need may be.
Somebody steps up.
Yeah,
man, that's amazing community effort.
Yeah, and I thank God for that, because, if we didn't have those things, we would be searching.
As much as I say I'm not affiliated with any church, and I'm not, but I will give them a lot of credit because they are essential to our community service, man. Like almost every school, I think you guys both know this, they got some kind of partner in a church somewhere in the community that is really trying to help them step up, whether it be during Teachers Appreciation Week or a school, like you said, a house fire. And then like all of a sudden we're all scrambling as a community to make sure so the church are usually the places where people go to try to help organize that. And we have quite a few in my particular part of the county as well. I always give a lot of shout out to Minor Memorial, because man, they are one church I know puts their money where their mouth is.
What church was that?
Do. Minor Memorial, United Methodist. And I'm not affiliated. I'm not. I just know what good they do in the community. Like they are putting every dollar they can back into our community in some capacity. They're not, they're a nice church, but it doesn't seem like they're trying to expand, like they're building fund and stuff, they're really like trying to take care of people. And that's essential, especially now with everything costs like it is, and I know they have programs to help people with bills, like with their light bills and maybe getting gas to go to work. They got gas cards, things like that. So if you can reach out to them, I know the Pastor Sam over there, he's an amazing individual. This guy has an open heart and mind to all kinds of folks. So don't think, that's a white church. Don't think that way.
Yeah.
It's a community effort. So I would say 90% of the kids we're feeding they don't look like me. You know what I mean? So I don't look at that way. I just think the impactfulness of how we're trying to help all people, especially the children and the young, and just, I always say the women and children for sure, because men, we just feel like they're a little bit on their own, but they need help too. And that's where we get back to kind of transitioning over to Mr. Stacy. I know that we had discussion last week. I was with your day job, you're into recovery. alcohol and drug recovery, and explain a little bit about where you work in your day job, give them a little bit of praise and what you're doing, trying to help there too, because I know you also open your door and your phone 24/7 for that side of the world too. Not only is Stacy super busy with the Hope Center, he is running an amazing treatment center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it started out in 2015, about the same time the Hope Center started. It used to be called Turning Point. It's on State Line Road, and we've been acquired and had. This is our fourth acquisition, but it's been the very best one. It's a company named Bradford Health Services purchased us, and they rebranded it to Woodland Recovery. So if you hear Woodland Recovery Center, we have approximately 200 or so patients a day in South Haven. They're struggling with, substance use and mental health issues. We offer detox.
So not just drugs, alcohol, but some mental health as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're a co-occurring disorder facility.
Okay.
So we treat addiction and mental health. There has to be a primary addiction. There has to be something.
Sure.
So you always have alcohol, no matter where you're at, which is one of the worst. It takes me 10 times longer to get an alcoholic in treatment than it does a fentanyl addict.
Right.
But we do have a lot of fentanyl, a lot of methamphetamine these days. But there's about 200 patients, roughly on an average daily, every day.
Sure.
And we have a great inpatient program with medical detox. We have nurses and doctors and psychiatrists and RNs and licensed therapists.
You got everything.
Everything. Food service, transportation.
You were telling me a little bit about y'all are actually building a new facility.
We are. About 3 weeks ago, we broke ground on a new $25 million facility.
Wow.
100-bed detox. It's going to be over off Marathon Way, kind of right off Airways and Marathon Way, kind of right behind on the border there, an Enterprise rental car. But that's going to allow us just to treat more people. It'll provide a much better experience.
Because you see the potential need being greater.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been full for many years.
Oh man, and, what does that tell you about our culture these days?
It tells you that there's a huge need, and there's a lot of facilities like ours. I have hundreds of accounts across the Mid-South I work with, especially North Mississippi.
Sure.
But I'm also a NADAC certified interventionist, so I go to the hospitals, the ICUs, the jails. I actually do church in the jail twice a week, and I do church at the facility.
You and Miss Ann.
Me and Miss Ann.
She's doing the women. Stacy's over there for the men.
Yeah. And my wife Stephanie also helps Miss Ann a lot.
Yes.
They go in and we do a thing called Celebrate Recovery. I'm a state rep for Celebrate Recovery. Have been for many years, and so I get, like I said, church in the jail twice a week and church at the treatment center twice a week.
Right.
So I have about 200 to 300 people a week, and new people.
Did you sleep?
That I get to meet. Yeah, I go to bed every night at 9 o'clock.
Up at 4.
Up at 4. That's right. I'm old. Yeah. I'm old, but it's the greatest thing ever. And so the Hope Center and Woodland Recovery Center and all of the community, the chamber, I'm really deeply involved in 4 chambers.
Yes, sir.
And so the chambers, the sheriff, the jails, the treatment center, the schools, it all works together.
That's a network.
So beautifully. Yeah. And none of this was planned. I didn't plan this stuff out.
Right.
And so both of us have also written books, and we share our books with our kids, and kind of leaving this world.
You even brought me some great books today, so I'm looking forward. I read.
And the Hope Center is something that we're going to be able to leave this world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And we could actually run 300 or 400 mentors through our platform. We have a new platform that we use called Mentor Nitty, and it keeps a track of everything, but it's actually our own platform.
Sure.
To where we can keep up with our mentees, our matches, and those things, but. Woodland Recovery Center, great things coming. We'll be breaking ground probably this time next year, and just more and more people being helped. But we work with all the local hospitals. We work with all the local therapists. We work with the schools. We all work together just to try to get that person where they need help.
All that stuff, because like somebody's got a client, it's like, look, I'm trying to help him, but he needs some real help. We were talking about our friend Melissa at the bar that's, her well because she sends you.
She's wonderful.
Like y'all talk about how you might get somebody from her potentially or out of the recovery process.
We look for I've learned like the blessings that come from the impossible situation.
Sure.
When the families think it's over, when the person thinks it's over, when everyone thinks it's over, that's where the miracle's at. Yeah,
and could you see the correlation just now from the Hope Center helping these kids and, it probably keeping them off a path of drugs or alcohol because they have something to look forward to, and when they become young adults, they're like, oh, you know what? My training or my mentors kind of showed me a way around this and path in life. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And that circles back around to what Stacy was saying earlier, the young man that was interviewing on the TV station.
Yeah.
One of the things that stood out to me is when he said, it wasn't the food, which was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't the activities, what we were doing. He said it was the love that they were shown.
Right.
That was the most important thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like between that to like not falling into a potential trap in life with the drugs.
goal of the Hope Center, one of our ultimate goals is to help them not go where I went.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about that. I want you to explain to people that not only are you amazingly, holding the reins to these great programs and you're leading them forward and trying to show them, but you've been down a dark path in your life.
Yes, sir.
To get you here.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
So I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah. Weren't we all, right?
I didn't even know I was a latchkey kid. I didn't even know what
that meant, by the way.
I didn't know what it meant until I was 40.
Right.
My mom was a single mom. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom moved away. I was raised in South Arkansas, a little town called Dermot on the other side of Greenville.
I know exactly. I'm just joking. I don't know where it's at.
It's not far from Greenwood.
Yeah.
And but my friend's dad had a big farm, and I started smoking cigarettes at a young age. Yeah. And then it started with alcohol, and then by fourth grade it was weed. And
fourth grade?
Oh, yeah.
Stacy, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. And but I played sports. Everything looked good. I was going to school, but I was always sneaking and doing things. And by high school, it was a lot of alcohol. Mm-hmm. Started with some cocaine, and then ended up being a meth addict.
Wow.
Ended up at age 33 living in the woods. Came to Memphis, was downtown Memphis in a place called Dixie Homes down in the 90s, homeless in Memphis. And my family was moving me around trying to help me, but they didn't know how to help me. And so I ended up going back to Missouri, had a really bad time. I ended up going to a program. I got into a program for 14 months. And in my case, Jesus set me free 25 years ago this May. And I've been clean ever since. And so I teach them how to activate the promises in God's word. And I teach them about chemicals and free will. And if you're taking chemicals, your free will's gone. You don't have any free will.
It's got you.
You're done until you get clean.
Sure.
And once we get the chemicals out, regardless really of what their spiritual beliefs are, once we get the chemicals out, life miraculously transforms.
Right.
But we've got to get the chemicals out, and they cannot do it on their own. Doesn't matter what they say.
Right.
They cannot do it on their own. They need to come to the program, get the chemicals out, and then they need the spiritual aftercare forever, which is AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery Church. The spiritual aftercare forever.
Yeah.
That's why I do Celebrate Recovery 2 or 3 nights a week. I do the jail ministry. I do all these things because it helps me stay. It helps me too.
Helps you too. Yeah, like it's just an ongoing fight, I'm sure.
It's the only way all your pain makes sense is whenever you use it to help others.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can turn it all the way around.
I believe that. And with your experience going down that path, you can be like, hey, dude, I was there. So I'm not buying that. That's the same thing I used to tell my mom.
So I get messages. The greatest gifts that God gives me, is when I get a text message or a Facebook message that says, I read your book in jail. My son read your book in jail. Thank you for coming up there. You made a difference in my life. I print those and I save those.
Sure.
But whenever that person is lost and they're addicted and they don't think there's a way out and they think life's over, because I was there. I felt like my life was over. And when you bring hope into their life, that when they send you those messages, that's straight from God himself. You can't buy that. I mean, they weren't prompted. No one told them to do it. And God put it on their heart, and they're humble enough to say thank you. I have a lot of people I work with now, and they love me, and they care about me because they know I love them. I don't look down on them. I don't judge them. I know how to talk to them. I know how to communicate with the broken, and I know how to talk them into coming to treatment. And I know how to, God has given me a gift through everything, all my bad stuff. He's given me a gift of knowing that I need to go get them, and knowing that my phone's always on. I'm going to answer for you.
Sure. And
that you're important to me, and you matter, and God has a plan for your life. But you have to do it. You have to go get it.
You got to do the work.
But we have to help them we got to get the chemicals out.
Sure.
Until the chemicals are completely out, nothing's going to work.
Right. And then it becomes sometimes, I know last week we talked briefly about a friend of mine who was going through that. And he's got the chemicals out. He's doing amazing. But there's this mindset. And I think it's basically unmedicated ADHD type stuff. And so
sometimes that's necessary.
Right. And I think probably because he's so talented and so capable, but he can't see it because of that particular diagnosis, and probably got on the drugs in some capacity looking for that help, but didn't realize that he should have been doing something. And it's not always about, I know there's better drugs out there now, especially with like ADHD and stuff. It's not all the or what is the big one that's for
Suboxone?
No, the one for ADHD.
Used to be Ritalin.
Is it Ritalin? What's the other big name?
I'm not sure.
Adderall. That's the one. That's legal, basically legal meth from what they tell me. But there's other things out there that can work for you that's not as.
There's some great new.
There's
some great new
stuff.
things. We have a great. We have addictionologists and the MDs and the nurse practitioners and psychiatrists like at work at Woodland. They're fabulous at helping with that. There's so many new things out these days.
But the problem it causes, they don't realize the stress it's put on their families. You're talking about people that are like. In some way, we become enablers as parents, family, because like we just can't stand them to be in pain.
Yeah, I help. My card that I gave you, I help with enabling. I help with homelessness, recidivism, going in and out of jails. I help with all those things.
Yeah.
And like your friend, for instance, is a perfect example. I would love to meet him.
Yeah.
And I just go to Waffle House or go somewhere out to eat with him and make friends with him and give him a copy of my book. And whenever a total stranger comes in, sometimes that interaction can kind of. It's not that I'm doing it. It's more of a magical healing thing. Whenever someone comes in and says, "Hey, you're worth it.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got this great program for you. Have you ever thought about Celebrate Recovery? Or maybe you need to come to outpatient." You know what I mean? And I just present options.
Sure.
Just like, kind of like we do with the mentees. When we mentor kids, we don't make decisions for them.
Right.
We say, "Have you ever thought about this? Have you thought about that?"
I think your program's so much different. There's a lot of good faith-based programs around here, like Miss Ann's for sure. Hers is like, it's kind of like pretty much she got complete control. Like they don't go nowhere without her. Like her, no phones, no relationships, like
no vapes, no cigarettes,
nothing, man. Like she knows, but some people don't need that. Like they're past that to where they can actually, they just need a way to feel better or whatever without. So that's where, they've gone through the process of some recovery, been in there for months at a time. And they're just like, man, I need to go. This is not good for me no more. This is actually damaging me because it's going to take away my will. Right. I understand all that. So that's where I think it's not a one size fits all. Miss Ann knows what she's doing. Obviously, she's been doing it for a long time, had a lot of success with the way she does it. And obviously, she recognizes the ones that will work with her program the best. You know what I mean? And she even said, sometimes they come back 3 and 4 times, Neil, asking for forgiveness. And I have to do it because I know eventually it's going to work for them. And because she's such an individual in handling them one-on-one, it's a little bit different than what y'all are doing.
I had one of my favorite memories is whenever they reach out to me, like I said.
Yeah.
And so I had a girl recently, and this tells the story of pretty much all of it. She called me. She said, "Mr. Stacy, I just want to call you and just tell you thank you." She said, "I can't believe you came and got me 5 times."
Yeah.
She was in treatment and she had ran off the property 5 times.
Right.
And I said, "Well, I appreciate that." I said, "But let me just clarify something. I came and got you 25 times. Every morning when I was pulling up to work at 6:30, coming up the hill, you were running down the hill in your pajamas, screaming at me, going the other way."
Wow.
And you know what she said though? She said, "Now I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and I have my 5 kids back."
Wow.
But she didn't remember the food. She didn't remember that. She remembered. She said, "I remember that you didn't give up on me."
Yeah, that's what she remembered.
And when you don't give up on people, when you learn how to not give up on them, love them, but not enable.
Yeah.
Mothers are the worst enablers that ever were.
Of course, we know why.
And I know, but sometimes, I have some horror stories I'm not going to share on here.
Yeah.
But I have some stories of parents that are like, they buy it for them. They actually.
Sure.
And it's like, you have to be able to love them unconditionally, have a great relationship with them so they want to be around you.
Sure.
You have to be friends with them, but you cannot enable them. Mm-hmm. I'm not buying them a hotel room. Mm-mm. I am not going to go get them. I'm not going to do those things. If they need to get to a program, we'll get them there.
Sure.
Right? We will get them to wherever they need to go.
Well, family's the worst enablers, or either that or they just completely don't know what to do. They throw their hands up and just get out. Yeah. Then it becomes, that's even worse, to me, because then you're absolutely, they have no hope. You know what I mean? And you're like feast or famine. You know what I mean?
I get to go out when I visit accounts and when I go out and do things like this in the community. Every day I'm out in the community in my vehicle, mobile. Sure. I go to hospitals and ICUs and sheriff's offices and all kinds of places. I have hundreds of accounts that I go to. But I run into them all the time. I run into our graduates. They're over here at Taco Felix. They're up here at Memphis Barbecue.
Sure.
And they just come running with their arms open, and the program worked.
Makes you feel great.
It works. And you go to church and they're serving at the front door. They're coming to the Hope Center. I mean, these are people that thought life was over.
Well, and I'd say the majority of them, success is just defined by, I got over that. If I can beat that, I can beat anything. That's right. Now I can get my life together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can get my kids back. I can have a stable relationship with a significant other. I can, without being beat to death every day.
You do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
If I can become a CEO and an author, anybody can do anything in the world.
Yeah.
I promise.
Like, I mean, literally homeless in the woods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I couldn't even hardly speak.
Really, that bad.
Life was over.
What was your choice?
I started out with marijuana. Weed was my favorite thing. Really bad alcohol problem in high school.
Yeah.
Keg parties and float trips. And
sure.
Then I discovered what a bar was. And that wasn't good. And I had some DUIs, but my end drug of choice was methamphetamine.
Sure.
A lot of my friends learned how to make it up in Missouri. And it was, back in the 80s and 90s, it was a really big thing. And when I first moved to Memphis, got my life cleaned up, there wasn't a lot. You heard of heroin and cocaine here, but now meth's here heavily. Yeah. And most of the time when people come to our program, it's usually fentanyl and meth mixed.
We call it being methed up.
Yeah. Meth.
I heard a new religion that was out called Crystal Methodist or something.
Oh, my goodness. Gracious goodness.
That's just a joke.
So last night, it was funny. I was having a talk with a friend of mine on the phone. This was late. Again, and my wife's like, dude, you got to go to bed. But we were having an in-depth, he lives in Florida. He's a great friend of mine for like 20 plus years, about 15 years older than me. And we were talking about how his kids smoke a lot of weed. And he's like, man, they're great kids. But like this weed is not the weed we grew up on, man. He's like, this ain't Reggie. You know what I mean? Like, he said, this stuff, he goes, I told him to go get all his stuff and get out of my house because I'm going to die and the cop's going to show. Because he said it was like, I just tried a little, like I'm 65. I thought my aches might help me. He goes, Neil, I don't know what they're putting in this stuff. He said, but it is so strong. He said, I don't know how people function on it. And these people are driving around smoking in their cars like cigarettes. He goes, it's just unbelievable to me that they're produced. So I've always been an advocate for like freedom of choice. Up until, and it's not that I'm right wing or left wing. I don't follow either way. I'm kind of like, what's good for people? That's my thoughts on things. Do the right thing by people as far as politics go. I just don't follow a lot of it. But I used to think, how dare a government tell us what we can do with our bodies? Mm-hmm. But then I didn't realize that they're making weed so powerful. You know what I mean? Like, I got some buddies. I don't judge them. I don't smoke personally. I don't even drink really, but I don't mind if you have a drink or if you smoke. I mean, whatever your thing is. I understand medical marijuana. I understand it for anxiety. I get all that stuff. But man, wow. I mean, like, where's the stopping point? I used to laugh at some of the jokes like Cat Williams and then would make about strong weed. And I had no clue what he was talking about until in the last few years, like, it's like, whoa, man, I didn't really, the impact it can have on people. They're almost like in comas when they're doing this stuff. Do you see that becoming a bigger issue because of the stronger
so I grew
drugs?
Up. My friends had marijuana fields.
Yeah.
And
but that was Reggie, Stacy.
No, there was good, and then there was.
Right.
I'm not going to say what they called it.
I got you.
I'm going to say what they called it, but it was so powerful it almost make you sick.
Yeah.
And so these days, now that they're growing it legally, and they're growing it to be that strong, and so. Also, something that people don't understand these days is the danger of the fentanyl. So they are actually, from what I've been told, they spray fentanyl onto the weed. They mist it.
Oh man!
They put it in vapes. Like sometimes you see vapes. Yeah. And they can put fentanyl in a vape. They can do things these days that when I was a kid, we had weed, whiskey, and beer. Yeah. But now it is so dangerous. They have kids, sometimes young kids, that are pressing pills in their garage. So they're taking powder with fentanyl in it and they're putting it in this little press machine they have, and they're making this pill that looks just like a Percocet you get from Walgreens. Sure. Right? But it'll kill you. Right? Yeah. And so I had an unfortunate event a few months ago. I had to do a funeral for a kid, and he had overdosed 3 times in 1 week. And it's just horrible. And so the things that are happening in our community now, our country now, where they're trying to stop that fentanyl from coming over, and they're starting, right? You have to start somewhere, right? But it's such a big problem. I mean, like, for instance, we have 200 patients maybe today in our facility. There's 20 other facilities like mine. Yeah. And they're full. Yeah, all of them. And it's great that they're in treatment. Sure. But we got to find out the problem. You got to go up the river and find out why they're falling in. You can't just keep trying to fix.
So with that being said, though, Stacy, like, what is it that is like? obviously, like we've all had stress in our lives. You even got on drugs, right? So you understand what was, maybe you just had an addictive personality to start with. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was your precursor.
I definitely had an addictive personality.
Yeah.
And the weed, when I was younger, the weed would relieve my stress.
Sure.
And, the medical marijuana, I know people right now that are doing okay because of medical marijuana. I'm a believer in abstinence because, if what happens if you're using marijuana every day and they run out of marijuana?
Yeah.
And they say, well, I've got some cocaine. That's what happened to me. And so it is a gateway.
Yeah.
It does lead you into places that are dangerous.
Everybody says it's not addictive, but it may not be chemically addictive, but it is mentally addictive.
And it takes your money. Like if let's just say you're a young couple and you smoke weed. Okay, that's going to take money from your family. It doesn't matter how you want to explain it away.
Same way with alcohol. It's the same thing. All of it's a dependency, and like I'm guilty of that. I smoke cigarettes. That's my thing, and I have for a long time. But I can afford it. Like I'm also not going to tell you to go smoke because it's not a cheap habit. So I can only imagine what it's like being on a consistent drug that really is requiring you to work just every day to where you can get to that place to where you got to, get that pill or get that.
Suboxone is a perfect example. They have Vivitrol, they have shots, they have blockers, and they have Suboxone, which Suboxone is designed for people maybe that are overdosing a lot or maybe that need to have the help with the
withdrawals. Yeah, like slowly get them off.
So it's designed to where they can maybe get up in the morning and take their morning Suboxone and go to work.
Right.
And they're not out drug seeking on the streets. They're not stealing things. They're not trading things. And many people can go on with Suboxone and live happy, healthy lives. Sure. But as with any other drug,
it becomes addictive.
They snort it, they sell it, they shoot it, they cheek it, they do everything with it that they're not supposed to. But not all of them. It's just some.
Everybody's an individual case, right? Like,
they are. Everybody.
Like, that's the thing I've learned through just years and years of watching family members and friends go through this. Like, what works for them is unique. Like to each one of them. I told the story before. My grandmother had he was really my cousin, but he was old enough to be my uncle, but he was a crazy alcoholic. Like he just would drink himself literally to where he would be drinking rubbing alcohol. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it would get for him. Yeah. And my grandmother, who was probably, she might have been 5 years older than him, but it was his aunt, but she was the only one that could physically and mentally put him in his place, Not his mother, not any of those people. Out of like 11 aunts and uncles, that my grandmother was the one. She was just a tough old, like, tell you how it is, do it is. She'd put him in, they had an old house and like a skeleton key lock on the door, and he'd come over and I'd be like hiding my grandpa's aftershave lotion. I would be doing everything I could, anything with alcohol, right? Yeah. And she would basically small dose him with like vanilla extract to keep him from going into DTs and stuff. This is before treatment centers were, it's late 70s, I'm guessing. And she would get him good for a while, but he finally got clean at the end of his life, only to live just a few years of good, happy times. But, multiple heart problems. I can remember him sweating so profusely, and I couldn't figure out what it was when I was a little kid. And it was basically him detoxing. Mm-hmm. He's sweating like crazy. And
as an interventionist, I get to go to the ICUs. I get to go to the ERs. Like I get maybe get a call or text, say, hey, there's someone, fifth DUI. In the ICU, and I get to go up and visit them, give them copies of my book, and make friends with them. That's all I'm doing. But like I said earlier, alcohol. If you read the big book, it says it's cunning and baffling. Okay, so that means deceiving. Mm-hmm. People that are struggling with long-term alcoholism, I have a few that I've been working with over 12 years.
Right.
And one, doing the same things you just mentioned, and they look at you and they say, "I can control it," and I'm like, I'm not going to go into all the reasons why that's not true, but that's not true. You can't control it. Right. You're in the ICU.
The chemical controls you.
You're not working. You have an ICU. You're not. You're going to die. Yeah. Right. I have another one recently that was fifth DUI. It's going to go to Parchman. I mean, this person's going to go to Parchman. Right. Okay. Yeah. And the family keeps enabling. Family will not stop enabling. I'm like, you realize she's not going to do good in Parchman. Okay. And if you don't stop, and they will just look at you and keep going. Yeah. And then when it gets really bad, they call. And of course, we help them. I don't ever, when they call, I know it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, before you actually.
It doesn't get better on its own. Alcohol never gets better on its own. Neither does drugs.
But have you learned, though, Stacy, in the process of this, like, especially with alcoholics, I believe, but I think it carries over with drug usage too. But until that person is absolutely ready
Yeah.
There's no amount of pushing them.
That's right.
Like, I can't say, all right, my son, whoever, or my daughter, whoever, I've had it with you. You're going into Stacy's program. Now, they may go out of fear of me.
Yep.
Like, just like Daddy's going to cut me off, whatever I got to go to. But in reality, until they say, I got to call that dude. I've hit rock bottom. This is my place. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. You can't force them.
Right.
The days of forcing people, like, that's one thing about the Hope Center too. There is no forcing, right? When they come into my program, they're not locked in.
Sure.
Okay. They have to come. Some come because their parole officer or probation officers told them they had to come. Some wives may say, if you don't get help, we're going to get a divorce. Sometimes they come out of being kind of forced.
Sure.
But sometimes the program works.
Sure.
When they get in there, they get clean. They realize they need help.
Right.
That's where the miracles happen. But the pain has to be so bad that you're right. They have to come to the conclusion in their own mind, this is not going to work. When I do church up there, when I share my story up there, I tell them, the addiction is the only, and alcoholism, it's the only battle that you surrender to win. And when I'm talking about surrender, I'm talking you have to no more chemicals. And I say, if you refuse to surrender, so when you leave this program, okay, if you try to go back down that bad road, I just put it like this. I say, God's going to jack you up. You're going to have car wrecks, get beat up, no job, no money, no family, financial problems, self-esteem problems, health problems.
Your whole life's going to fall apart.
And it's never going to get better, and it's going to keep happening. So when I see someone, you mentioned earlier, sometimes they come back a couple of times.
Yeah.
At the third time, I'm like, message still the same.
Yeah.
And they realize they have to learn for themselves.
Right.
But what he taught me was that if I didn't stop using, all these things were going to happen. And so I went out, I did it, and all those things happened.
Right.
So I came back in, I tried it again. Every time I go back out, what he tells me happens. So eventually they're sitting there, they're kind of looking like defeated, right?
Right.
But it's because they're understanding they can't win. It's an unwinnable battle.
Sure. Until
you surrender. And then when you surrender, I believe all the promises of God come to pass in your life, and your life becomes this experience you never dreamed possible. Like your beautiful life is waiting. But we can't have the old life and the new life too.
Well, one of the things, and that's amazing that, you've obviously figured this out to where, obviously through your own pain and suffering, family members you put through all kinds of hell, literally, like.
That 17,000 people come through our program too.
That's an amazing story.
There's a trend.
Yeah, it's a very trend. And on top of that, not all success stories, but it's a start, and then some of them have to come back and come back and come back. I mean, I'm telling you.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay because if you succeed on things, you don't appreciate it as much every time. Like in life, like when you get a job and you're like, oh my God, I've messed that up. You know what I mean? I think we have to fail sometimes in order to realize the appreciation of succeeding, you're, really and truly. I had a guy one time tell me, and this is many, many years ago, probably 30 plus years ago, he was an alcoholic. He was in his 60s. He said he literally went through 30 rehabs before he finally decided that he was done.
I tell him a lot of time. I think it's a really critical message. I say, listen, it's okay to be addicted.
Yeah,
it's okay to life be a mess right now.
Sure.
It's okay to not know where you're going to fix it. It's okay to have family struggle. What's not okay is that as an adult, we have to fix it eventually because when you go in front of the judge, they're going to look at you and go, you eventually have to fix it as an adult.
Well, right. Because,
eventually.
I don't think locking people up over, I used to also have an opinion of, I don't believe the punishment fits the crime sometimes when you're a user, right? You just get caught with a little bit of this or that and it's personal use, and then they stick you in jail or whatever, you put you in this program. But what it is they don't typically do that on the first get-go. You're a repeat offender to the point of he's not getting a message, or she, and we're going to have to take her freedom.
Yeah.
To make them understand.
A lot of times when a judge looks at you these days, or a drug court representative, whatever, and they're kind of they don't really care what you feel.
Yeah.
Or why it happened, or what happened when you were a kid, or whatever. Did you do what I said or not?
Yeah.
And society is that way. And when someone gets their, I had 4 DUIs back in my teens or back in my 20s, and lost my license for a long time. But when you get your 4th, 5th, 6th DUI, that judge is responsible for you.
Yeah.
She can't just keep letting you go.
Well, if she keeps letting you go, then that next bad situation becomes her liability.
And if you accidentally kill somebody.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, you can be driving drunk and another person hits you. It cannot even be your fault.
But you're still at fault.
You're drunk.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just got so many negatives.
So many negatives. And then also with drug and alcohol problems, not all cases, but in some cases, actually speaking with people at House of Grace and, of course, Miss Ann with Precious in Pink program, we find that there's also domestic abuse involved, and, whether it be maybe the user or maybe not the user, that has the addiction, being the recipient of that. I mean, sometimes it goes both ways. And of course the kids, with you being a principal, I'm sure there's times when you're like, okay, there's a real issue at home beyond just, bad parenting. Like there's an abuse issue going on within the house. And then probably in some cases you talk to your buddy like, hey man, we got to get these folks some help. Outside of, school, I can't really bring it to their attention, but I've got to get some help and resources here. Domestic abuse centers, you got to be networked with them. I'm sure you know Sarita real well.
Oh, yeah. She sent me some on yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And at the House of Grace, they do amazing work. And so this all ties together in our community. That's what I'm saying. It's the unfortunate networking. Like ours is great because we're sitting here talking about how we're going to work together. But unfortunately, it's like this. It starts off with, at home, food security, great people in your life mentoring you, whether it be a family, grandfather, a dad, whatever, a strong parental grandparent or something, a brother, sister, somebody in your life that's impacting you. Not everybody has that. Like I was very fortunate. I had so many of those people in my life, and it wasn't absolutely 100% golden all the time, right? But I had it. And there's so many people that are missing in their life. And that may be the precursor to where they're traveling this road where you think you've done everything right, and then they land up in Stacy's program because this one little thing took place in their life. And we can't just protect everybody at all times. You're ultimately responsible for your own decision making in your life. And until you start learning to own it, one of the things I teach my kids is like, okay, you did it. Like you're guilty of that. You got to own it. You got to own up to it. Quit blaming others. That you're responsible for your actions. Whether it be you drank too much, you smoked too much, whatever the case may be, right? You made that decision. Now, whether or not I enabled you, now you're an adult. So I'm not going to take the blame for it. I'm going to let you say you had a decision to walk away. Now, that's the things I teach. And luckily, I've got 3 amazing children, that have somewhat listened to me. And I probably lead by a little bit of like, I will beat you to death before I let you hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Like I'm that kind of guy. And I know that's probably not a best way to parent. I didn't whoop on them at all because I was, they came up in a time to where obviously in the last 20 years, you're not whipping on your kids. You're going to jail. That's just simple as that. So I didn't do that, but I made them fear it. Like it was a real serious consequence.
My mom used a belt and a switch.
Absolutely.
Oh, my grandmother hit me with tennis shoes. I mean, man,
she could put her hand on
switches. Like I'd have to go cut my own switch, and then if I come back with too small a one, it was worse.
That's right.
And I'd have little stripes on my legs. Like they would have definitely went to jail back then. And I mean, anything she could grab sometimes. Not my mom, by the way. My mom would never do that. But my grandmother was rough, son. Like she would beat you to death.
My grandma was walking through the yard with the switch dragging her moo-moo, a chew of snuff. If you were in her yard, something about her yard. I went back and looked years later. There was nothing special about her yard.
It was her yard.
But if you were in her yard, that qualified you.
Yeah, you're getting whooped. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm like, here she comes, like a monster coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was scared of her though.
Heck yeah, I was scared of my grandma, man. She was like built like olive oil on Popeye, like this real tall, long, lean lady. But boy, she could knock the crap out of you,
Yeah.
I'd rather be mule kicked in the face than get slapped by her. I mean, she would literally knock your teeth out of your head, and we just like, you didn't know how to even react to that.
That's right. I remember my mom. Yeah. My mom one time slapped me. We were driving down the road, and she slapped me, and I was still talking.
Yeah,
she hurt my feelings.
Yeah, hurt your feelings.
She did.
But it goes back to like obviously important. Like we just don't know. Like when we talk about the food security, like what y'all do at your school, what we do with Feed My Lambs. No money qualifier. We don't know what's going on in the home. We don't know what they're stepping out of in the mornings out of that little car. When my mom passed away, I had a lady call me last summer, and I didn't even know how many people she had impacted in the community. It was amazing. I was getting stories after stories after stories, and about how when I would walk into that school, I was 9 years old, and the only thing I could look forward to is her smiling face going, "Good morning. You're going to have an amazing day." And she didn't know I just got out of the car with an alcoholic mother who really screamed at me from the time I got up to the time I got out of that car. Mm-hmm. And it was my dream to get to that front door.
Yes.
Every morning to see Miss Nancy. I did not know the impact she had on people. And that little encouragement, she was a mentor in a weird way. Like they always aspire. I got teachers telling me, I want to be just like Miss Nancy when I grow up. You know, and like these women are 40 years old, you know?
Absolutely.
And so I understand that. She didn't realize probably what she was doing. She just enjoyed it so much. She didn't have a plan. She wasn't educated. She was an assistant teacher, by the way. She wasn't a teacher. Just when my kids started there, she was looking for something to do, and it was her way of getting involved. And then she become like this school's, you know, probably best asset, you know, from a standpoint of how to help children have a better day. She'd be able to spot them when they didn't have the best of shoes or something like that. I remember calling me many years ago, and she's like, Neil, I got this little one up here, and his little toes, they're out the front of it, you know, and I think they've been passed down. So here I'd go, you know what I mean? I'd go to a shoe carnival or somewhere, and I'm like, get his sizes and, you know, all that stuff. And so that's kind of the life I led, quietly. You know, like we didn't, you know, ask for, we weren't trying to get a recognition for it. So nor did she, you know, but people just find out about you eventually, you know.
Yes.
And same way with you guys, like it's one of those things to where it starts there, especially early on if a child can get love from outside the home a little bit, you know, from a standpoint like they cared. Like y'all were talking about earlier, those kids look back on y'all and they go, those two dudes cared about us. Like they're the only ones that were trying to make my life better back then, you know? And it wasn't the mom wasn't trying. She might be working crazy hours and just don't have the time. And dad's not necessarily in the picture. Or maybe he is, and he's working crazy hours. And they're kind of their own set of latchkey kids, so to speak, you know, nowadays. And internet is different. It made kids different these days than what they have been in the past, you know? Like we did know our neighbors a lot more probably when we were kids. Like you would get out and meet, you know, your neighbor Eddie and find out that he loved basketball when he was young, you know, and all of a sudden you're shooting hoops with your neighbor. That don't happen no more.
That's true.
You know, your 40-year-old neighbor's not shooting hoops with your 8-year-old son. It just don't happen. And I did a lot of that as a kid too. Like the neighbor, you hear about it takes a community, you know, it takes a village to raise a kid. That really don't happen no more.
It's true.
It really don't. So like, you know, I've seen this gradual thing many years ago. We would see kids in the street shooting hoops. Like they'd have the whole road blocked, you know, and as aggravating as a passerby, it's still kind of important, like for that to happen. It goes back to community centers. If they had a place to go after school that was safe, they had access to plenty of water and things like that, you know, especially down here with the heat, in the summer too, especially. Yeah. But after school and stuff, I think that Memphis and DeSoto County are lacking in that big time. You know, and I think that's kind of part of our crime process that we're seeing. Kids are just going to get involved in stuff they shouldn't sometimes. And you go, well, I raised my kid better than that. Yeah, you know him at home. You don't know him when he leaves his house. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I was probably a bad example. I mean, I would, you know, foul mouth. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. Still to this day. But as a kid, I was terrible. But I was a good kid overall. I wasn't trying to get in no real trouble. But you'd find yourself in places. But I was clear enough to, man, if I get, my grandmother's going to kill me if I don't get out of here. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So I had a good, healthy fear in the back of my mind. You know, you always hear what WWJD. I've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that for WWND. What would my nanny do? You know what I mean? She's going to kill me. So if you don't have that healthy respect for like your grandmother and her moo-moo that was going to beat you half to death if you did anything. But see, a lot of kids don't have that.
That's true.
And it's not that it's out of fear, but it's out of love, you know, because ultimately she loved on me more than anybody too. You know, she'd get me at home at night. She'd be rubbing my back, you know, you know, your nanny loves you, baby. I didn't mean to try to kill you today. You know, like,
sorry about the stripes.
Yeah, sorry about the stripes on your leg. They'll heal in a few weeks. But I mean, unfortunately, there is a lot of that lacking in our community now. And so if there was a message y'all had to put out there today from any aspect of things we talked about, whether it be the Hope Center or Woodland Recovery, educational, you know, just all the things y'all involved with and things y'all want to work on coming to the future. I know you got big plans always. You're always looking for the next opportunity to build your programs. And what would y'all say to that? What were the things you have?
Well, you brought up a lot of things that I fortunately get to live every day.
Yeah.
I get to see those kids come in, like after the spring break that we just had.
Yeah.
Kid looks up at me, grab hold of my leg, just hugs my leg, and saying, I miss you so much.
Yeah, man. That's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
That is an amazing feeling. And I get about 400 of those in the morning times each day.
Awesome,
we have about 600 kids in our schools, K through 2. And just to know that they didn't get a meal.
Oh man,
probably during the day, those 5 days. It just breaks your heart, you know. And that's why I say I get to live that. I do an announcement in the morning times at the school every morning, and
on the PA.
Yeah. It
the whole neighborhood here.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood.
The whole neighborhood. And we're right in the midst of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're
I know where Hope Sullivan is. Yeah.
And so I'm on the announcements, and there's some little old ladies that come out on the porch.
Just to listen.
That's to
awesome.
those because I'm going to say something positive. I'm going to be, hey guys, you are loved, you are blessed. I'm going to say it.
Sure.
And I have something I say every morning just about being kind and being loving. And they sit out there on their porch and they drink their coffee and they listen to those announcements.
Amazing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you just
until
found
a couple of years back.
Right.
Yeah.
But the kids probably just need that, man. Like,
absolutely.
You know, like just, you guys probably a little bit over this, but like I can remember the camaraderie is weird, just topic wise, but the PA systems you mentioned, and I remember how important that was as a kid in school, and like they'd say the morning prayer.
Yes.
You know, and then
Pledge of Allegiance and
all that. And then I can remember, this is no kidding, and y'all might just be a tad bit old for this, but We Are the World song came out. And I'm just saying just a little bit older than me. We Are the World. Right? But I was like in a elementary, junior high area when that song came out, like in the mid 80s. You would literally have every kid in that school singing that song together as the PA was playing it. Yeah, how amazing that was?
Yeah.
It was really an amazing thing because it was such a big hit.
Yeah.
And then like the way that it just took off. I don't think people nowadays appreciate what a song is, like the Coca-Cola song. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So, but for probably a good solid 2 years, they'd play that every morning, how impactful that was and the message. So that we didn't need the principal to say much. Like we were already getting the message, like there was building this camaraderie between us all. And it was a pretty small school, but still just leading back to that. I didn't mean to totally interrupt you, but
no,
I get that point of that message to a youngster, especially like, you know, a sixth grader or below, you know, that, you know, they haven't really got into that mindset that they're a man yet, so to speak, you know, or, you know, they're trying to come into their own, but it's very impactful.
Yes, it is. It's very impactful. I'll say this, it's not ironic. I think it's just God that this name of my school is Hope Sullivan. Yeah. And we have the Hope Center. That's by God's design. Yeah. And love covers it all. And I let me say this too, because I've been thinking about it. I agree with your mom. God is doing something in your heart, whether you recognize it or whether you realize it or whatever God is doing. Because when you start helping people, when you desire and the definition of your life is to help people, then that's God. The Bible says, that book says, God is love.
Thank you.
It is love.
Thank you. Well, I don't know what it is, you know, but I'm going to just keep trying to do it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not closed-minded to any of it. I'm just, you know, I was raised in a church. I told you that. And I just, you know, I tell the story all the time. I seen my pastor one time after church at the local bootlegger's house with not his wife. And it just somehow soured me to the whole thing. And I just kind of, you know, it kind of like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, you know, so we've all experienced similar things. And, you know, and I guess just probably I've learned to live my life and a moral compass as best I can, you know, but like I just don't rely on church to be that thing for me. Although I'm involved with, you know, and those ladies are always like, ask my mom, why does Neil not go to church? He's doing amazing. They're like, look, I've been trying to get him in there, you know, but she knows it's not going to work. I'm kind of like that recovering. I'm like, you're not going to make me do it. I got to be ready.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I got to be ready. So, however, I do appreciate meeting all these amazing people like yourselves that are involved in the ongoing helping of others, you know, and I see that in y'all, and I know you've been doing it a long time, and all I do is hear great things about you too. That's all I do. Everybody I talk to is like, those two are amazing. They're doing amazing, great work for for our whole community, our kids or whatever, and it's just truly inspiring. You know, I like to be inspired by others, and I try to lift others up. So when I see people doing good, I want to showcase it for them, you know, and I want to try to get them out there. I don't try to one up somebody on a program like, oh, well, I'm doing this. No, we're doing this all together. It takes so many people to do whatever's going on. Like I said, anybody can, you know, I'm sure there's other programs out there like y'all's that somebody's doing at a very, very low level maybe at a local church to where they're trying to inspire some youth just right around their community. Maybe you can get with these guys and figure out how to take it to another level and get involved with their program too. And I know y'all would love partners in any capacity just to try to grow it. But anything else, Kenneth, that you want to speak on about your side of the world with the Hope Center? If there's a message you want to pass on, or
so we would love for you to get involved with the Hope Center. There's so many families out there that need like what we try every day, what we try to give people. There's so many families. We just need for people to get involved and to share that love and to share their gifts and their talents and whatever they have to give to make somebody's lives better.
May just be time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it could be just time. And so we would love for them to do that. So yeah, come on.
That's right. Reach out to these guys. They done gave you their cell phone numbers. Like, there's no other way to be direct than that. And I promise you, Stacy's going to answer his phone.
No doubt about it. Now, I may be delayed a little.
Well, yeah, because your job's a little different. Stacy's a little more freed up, but he's not going to answer if he's on the phone with somebody else, and then he's going to call you right back, because I know that for a fact. Yeah,
that's the truth.
Absolutely. Well, how about you, Stacy? What's your outro today as we close this thing out? What would be your message to people?
So a couple of things. So the main thing is that the programs are in place.
Yeah.
So if you have a youth that's struggling, if you have an adult that's struggling, if you have someone that's addicted, if you have someone that's homeless, if you have someone that's in prison, no matter what the problem is, all you have to do is call. We've removed all the barriers. So there's no cost.
Yeah.
There's programs in place. There's programs for people that don't have insurance. There's programs for people that do have insurance. There's programs for people that have Medicaid. There's programs for people that are using. There's programs for people that are not using.
Right.
There's 501s. There's long-term. I mean, I know where all these programs are because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Not everybody, very few people know about these programs.
Well, you even got my friend I was talking about earlier. He didn't come through your program, but you actually were able to get him set up with insurance in order to be able to go through other programs.
Yeah. So whenever someone is lacking insurance, if they don't have Medicaid or anything, then we steer them towards. There's different community programs around here. There's all different kinds of people that help with insurance.
Sure.
But they steer them towards the Obamacare Affordable Care Act,
right,
which is available to every human being. They sign them up at the homeless shelters. They sign them up at the Salvation Army. These insurance companies help them get insurance through the Obamacare marketplace option. Right. And so anyone can get that. That's available. You can go right now you could go on your phone and get a policy.
I probably need to.
You can. But anyway, most of, we take most of those marketplace plans.
Sure.
We take private pay. We help veterans. But if anybody that's struggling, they need to call. They can call me at my phone number 24/7. They can look me up on social media, and I get them to a program. If they don't have insurance, I know where to send them. If they have insurance, I know where to send them. If they have Medicaid, I know where to send them. If they have TennCare, I know where to send them. If they have nothing, and they're not using, they're clean, I know which 501, like Miss Ann's, and the different places to send them. Yeah. The next thing I would like to share is just that the kids, it's easier to fix a kid than repair an adult. Okay. And so when we can get them in, we can get them in that mindset of wanting to achieve their dreams and just be that role model with them. But there's no cost for any of that. Okay. There's resources for people that don't have things in this world. Okay. And DeSoto County and North Mississippi is full of resources. I mean, it's more than you could ever list. Okay. And then the last thing, like in my last book that I wrote, it's called Discovering the Keys to the Kingdom.
Where can people, by the way,
StacyDodd.com.
StacyDodd.com.
Yeah, and if you need a copy and you don't have any money, I'll get you a copy.
I'm going to hold it up here in front of the camera so you can see that. And then also...
That's the last one. And so, and that flyer right there tells everything that I do. But so the book's called Discovering the Keys to the Kingdom. And so in my life, through my 57 years on this earth and many mistakes and much heartache, and also much healing and freedom that I found in my life, I discovered that the kingdom of God lives within us. And when God's love flows through us into this world, okay, wherever we go, we're mobile vessels.
True.
Okay. So where's the access point? So an access point for me is the recovery center, the jail, the community, the chamber, the Hope Center. These are where I find them.
Sure.
Right. But how do I get inside that person's heart and mind? How do I get that stranger that I just met to open up to me and believe what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get what I have in here, and I want them to experience what I get to experience.
Right.
Has nothing to do with money. Has nothing to do with the title. It has to do with freedom, and has to do with love and happiness and joy, and also discernment and conviction, and all of that flows through the Spirit, I believe. Okay. And so what is the master key? The master key is vulnerability. The master key is humility. The master key is availability. The master key is I'm going to tell everyone what I used to be, and I don't care what anyone thinks.
You got to humble yourself.
Right. And when you do those things, then they're like, hey, this guy's just like me. Mm-hmm. And I think he does care about me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then they open up and they might believe what I say, and I just kind of steer them onto the path. I steer them towards the ultimate resource. But there's also, I just want the community to know that we live in the most amazing community in the world. DeSoto County is fabulous. I know we have our problem, but if you need something, it's here.
Right.
All you have to do is ask. If you don't know what to do, that's where we come in. Right. You know, if you need your car fixed, you take it to the Ford dealership because they know how to work on it. Yeah. If you have someone that's struggling with addiction or alcoholism or kids that are struggling, we know what to do.
Right.
And we invite the whole family, and we would love to have you be a part of what we're doing. And we would personally love to walk with you on your road to freedom.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Man, look, again, you guys are doing amazing work. I want to have you on just kind of for my viewing audience that may be unique to what you are doing.
Well,
possibly they don't know.
Thank you.
I want to expose it just a little bit more, and let them know that these are two really important. If you see them out in public, I'm sure you can grab a hold of them and thank them because they've probably saved somebody, honestly. They probably have, or gotten somebody because 16,000 people through a program that you're involved with, that is a lot.
It's a lot.
So somehow or another, somebody knows you through that, I promise you, and same way with you, sir. How many students you think you've seen since you've been in school, like as far as they would know Mr. McKinney?
We 600 times 13 years.
Yeah, 28 years. Actually.
28 years.
Yeah.
That's
so
a lot.
That's a lot, thousands. So you guys are hugely impactful from the kid standpoint all the way through, and looking back on certain principles, like I said, I don't have the best opinions of all of them, but there was a couple of really, really good ones. Mm-hmm. And you will forever remember that love that they gave you, that when they could have been hard on you, and I think you're that kind of guy. I believe that. I think that you're more of a lover than a...
You always remember your best teachers, and most of your best teachers made you mad sometimes.
They did. Yeah.
But you look back and you're like, they held me accountable, and now I rose to another level.
Tough love.
The Grizzlies,
absolutely.
The Grizzlies did that with us.
Yeah.
They never gave us anything, but they forced us to rise to another level in our mentoring program.
Yeah.
And that's how we won Mentoring Program of the Year.
Yeah, and that's huge.
It is.
You were talking about like there was 55 organizations, and y'all actually took home the best. And that's
we won a few awards down there. We've got, but the Mentoring Program of the Year was the honor of our. When we first started, we would look at those programs and we'd be like, man, I wish we'd be like the streets ministry. I wish we could be like the YMCA. They got a building,
Yeah.
And but when we won that award, it was the highlight of our life. And
which, by the way, those are hugely important to our community. The YMCA.
They have one coming.
I know, and it was very difficult for me to learn that there was people fighting it. That bothers me.
That should bother anybody.
It really should because, in a lot of places, again, it's like a community center in a way, and I'm not even sure it was put in the best place personally because I think there's other parts of the county could have probably used that resource better. But however, just having it is having it, and we appreciate it. So thanks for the people that made it possible.
Yeah, our DeSoto County supervisors and our leadership, all of our mayors, they call me with people, and they trust me and we trust them, and they're big supporters of the Hope Center, all of our community.
Yeah.
And so together we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's more to come as we grow. It's ever growing. I don't think the growth, it is just on fire around here. In DeSoto County, Mississippi, I try to tell people because there's different DeSoto counties in this, like Texas, Florida.
True.
We're in Mississippi. Yeah. So, and
I was wondering why I ended up in Mississippi. Now I know, but I was like, why did I end up in Mississippi? And like 15 years later, I'm like, man, this place is the best place on earth.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the people, and obviously, I have opportunities. I'm not from here originally either. I'm kind of like an implant in the last 25 years. But to me, it's home. And I've got other places I refer to as home. There's a couple of different ones. I spent some equal amount of time, 15 or so years, in a couple of different places, and they're both very amazing places. I look back on with fond memories, and one of my children relocated there recently with his family, which I'll probably be spending more time there. So I'm very fond of that place as well. But however, it is unique here because of the very diverse culture we have. Mm-hmm. I think that probably plays the biggest role in our feelings towards it, Stacy. Like we just have so much difference in just walks of life. and you see everything, from the worst to the best.
I have a quote where I say, diversity is the most beautiful thing ever as long as hate's not involved.
That's right. Yeah.
And when we get together at the Hope Center, you want to talk about diversity.
I bet.
And I mean, it's the happiest people you have ever seen.
Yes.
Well, I think when you can let down all that stuff that causes that controversy, you can put that, it really makes an easy life for you.
Every human being's an individual, and that person's heart, that person's heart dictates who they are.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the color of your skin or your education. It has to do with your heart.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest. It's heaven on earth.
Yeah. And I have to join y'all sometime. Come over and check it out, man. And maybe just kind of.
Coach Camp comes to all of our events, and he fires them up.
Man, that dude is on fire. I don't know where he gets the energy. Me and him are the same age, and I'm just like, I need to borrow a little bit of that.
He came to me and he said, "Hey, God told me I'm supposed to write the screenplay for your movie." I'm like, okay.
Okay. Well,
and guess what? He's almost done.
He's doing it.
No, he's almost done.
He's almost done.
He just handed it to me.
Energy, yeah. A lot of energy.
Are you making a movie?
We are.
What is it called?
It's called Backpack to the Burbs.
It's the
first book. That's the sequel to the first book.
Oh, okay. I got you. So it's based on the book.
Yeah.
I got you.
When I got out of prison and I came here, I only had a backpack.
Okay.
I didn't have anything in the whole world. I didn't have a job, car, money, nothing.
Nothing.
Had a softcover Bible, 2 little pendants, and some dirty clothes.
We're going to do another show about y'all's personal stories. Like, I think it's intriguing to know about people's history of how they got to where they're at. I know we kind of glanced over it a little bit today, but, also the importance of how you met these people in your lives called your wives. First of all, let's thank these 2 ladies because they have put up with some stuff trying to get to,
They are amazing.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. Yes. So y'all would love to give them a little shout out.
Yeah, let me get a shout out to Miss Jacqueline McKinney, my sweetheart. We met back in college.
Yeah.
Life took us through a whole lot. She left me.
No.
She came back. God brought us back together after about 30 years.
Wow.
God brought us back together after we went through all the transitions in life.
Yeah.
I told her she couldn't get away.
That's right.
Could not get away.
That's a great story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. How about you, buddy?
My wife. So when I moved here in 2000, I worked in a warehouse for about 11 years, and I ended up staying clean, doing good. Ended up meeting my wife. We built a house. Her name's Stephanie, and she's an angel, and she supports me in everything I do. She does a lot of the same things I do. We raised 2 kids in South Haven.
Yeah.
Moved my parents in. That gave me one last chance, and I got to keep them for 15 years. My mom got to hold her when she took her last breath and take care of her with the dementia and Parkinson's. And then my stepdad gave me a ride to work for 6 years, and when I didn't have anything, and
or a license, by the way. You did mention that earlier. So the stepdad was just taking him to work every day.
I got to care for him and hold his last.
That's amazing.
When he took his last breath, and I got to give him something back. And my wife recently became a realtor. And,
awesome.
And she's a realtor out in Arlington with Grant Homes.
Okay.
It's an amazing organization. And anyway, God's been really good to us and blessed us beyond measure. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here. And she believes in me and believes what I do, and she supports me, and I love her. And she fights battles no one knows anything about. She's just a true champion.
Sure.
And she comes to the Hope Center, and they have mentees and mentors. They just have the best time ever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I always like to say, there's usually some really strong, powerful being behind idiots like us. You know what I mean? That just absolutely whatever it takes, we're going to do it. And they're like, okay, baby. You know what I mean? Like we're there. We're doing whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Because reverse scenario, I'm not so sure if I'd be so, accepting. Like you're going to do what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not spending how much money out of your own pocket to go do what? So I know y'all have been there because you've done it out of your own pocket. Well, regardless, like if it's the Hope individual kids at your school,
absolutely.
Clothing. Helping someone that's homeless possibly before this thing ever got going, like you probably were doing a lot of that. I know that. I've done it myself, so I'm aware what it takes to get started. Still do it a lot, actually. And they just go, I know he's doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And that's amazing. So thank you, ladies, for being a part of these guys, because I know without you, they're not who they are.
That's right.
That's true.
And I always
they have to approve of everything we do.
Oh, absolutely. Get permission and all that.
You do have to get permission? No, I don't believe that.
We keep doing it. We keep doing it, but they see God's hand in all of it.
Sure.
And it didn't start out that way, like you said.
Yeah.
When it first started, it was like, how much?
Yeah, right.
It's like, you're going to buy how many books? It's like, what do you do? And now it's like,
My wife don't even ask no more. She's just like, he's going to do
now
it.
my wife's out doing it. She's not buying. I'm like, what are you buying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I'm helping these people. I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I mean, and that's amazing too. Like, when you inspire people, I see it through my kids. They're much like I am. Probably can't because
what
of
you
the
got from your
resources,
mom.
But
Absolutely.
my dad too, but my mom.
You're still learning about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always important. We're getting ready to have a memorial service. I haven't announced it yet for her. She died on July 4th this past year, and very suddenly, in a way that's fortunate. I was with her and stuff. So that's cool. But we're going to have a memorial service pretty soon. Me and my brother just this morning we were talking about it, and we've got to make a decision on dates and stuff like that and where to do it. Probably got to hold it at the school because their size of their gym's probably going to require some of
Absolutely.
So, but the ongoing. I think I've had even my grandparents, that Mino Croup of a grandmother I called Nanny. She was a giving person. Yeah. She did help neighbors, and if you had a friend in her, for life, she'd do whatever she could for you, but do not get on her bad side, So she did teach me giving. I was just always raised like that. I remember my grandpa going and picking up all the ladies, carrying them around on commodity days. Y'all remember commodities?
I do.
The little green stamps and stuff. So that tells you, getting their commodity cheese and stuff.
Yes.
He'd haul them around and drop them back off, And so to me, I was like, why is he doing that? Because he's just being a good dude. Like he was retired, and it just, his mother had been in that area where those women lived and the men, and he just seen a need, and I guess it just kind of over time it hits you, you get a little bit of it at a time, and my kids are that way. So
that's good.
They don't know it, but I see it, and I love them all for it. And I'm fortunate that when I go to do my fundraisers and stuff to feed my lambs, I mean, they're there as much as they can be. And my daughter's always my biggest fan. I always tell her that she's my number one fan.
All right.
Yeah. So we got to be thankful for our families for what we do, because if there was some kind of a hiccup in what's going on in our lives, it's hard for us to stay focused. And I don't try to lump myself with y'all because y'all do such amazing stuff. I don't even want to say I'm on the same level, but with the same effort, it's hard for you to focus on the things you do if you got a lot of controversy or drama at home. You know what I mean? So keeping a very even-keeled personal life is very important. Right. Otherwise, it can take you off course.
It's critical.
Very critical.
Yes.
I always use the analogy, and I say it all the time. It's like I'm just trying to keep it between the lines all the time. My happiness, my peace, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I always say somebody, all of a sudden, like you can have a flat tire and it jerk you in a ditch. Somebody can be grabbing a wheel, and all we're doing is just fighting constantly to keep it between the center. Sometimes it's easy. You can take your hand off the wheel and just cruising along on cruise control. And then sometimes somebody just jerks you straight into a ditch.
Absolutely.
And you're fighting all the time. And so that's just life. It starts from there. So don't turn to the drugs. Don't turn to the alcohol to be dependent on that. And learn from, get your kids involved in some of these great programs. Even if they got a dad and a mom and they're great, maybe it's something different they can go in and they can be a part of the Hope Center from a standpoint. Real quickly before we turn this thing off for the day, I know you've got a real big celebrity that came through the Hope Center. I want y'all to talk about that.
I'm assuming you're talking about N'Kobe Dean.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We had no idea that he was there. We were just doing what we were what we were called to do.
Yeah.
Just blessing the young people and just doing.
And he's probably just a little tiny guy.
Just a little tiny guy.
Yeah.
Nothing stood out about him.
Yeah.
But boy, did God do a thing in his life.
Yeah.
He got up to high school. He won the Dick Buckus Award for the best linebacker, and then got to Georgia and won the Dick Buckus Award for the best linebacker. Had a wonderful career at Georgia.
Yeah.
And this kid didn't know where he was going to go until he drove up to the high school. He just determined that. He said, hey, I'm going to Georgia.
Yeah.
Changed his life. Absolutely changed it. Great. If we were to pick up my phone right now and say, hey, Kobe, how you doing? He'd answer right back.
Because you were such impactful people in his lives. Yeah.
And such a great kid. So he plays for Philadelphia. And he was not only starting, but he was a play caller on defense.
Yeah.
And you don't do that. Last year. You don't do that when you go to the NBA.
Well, what's crazy is his story is truly amazing. I've watched it from a distance. I don't know N'Kobe. Obviously lived a few miles from me, because I live in Walls. So, but I watched some of the local kids that are coming up in the football. Where I'm a football college. I like college football in high school, and I watched the Rising Stars community, and they're like, he's a little undersized. I'm not sure he can play here. He can play that. This dude showed up, shows out, and makes a point to say, "Yeah, call me little again."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even in the pros when he got drafted. I mean, he should have been a top 10 pick.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And absolutely went, I mean, because he had a little injury.
That's what, yeah.
So, however, though, has showed up and showed out again. Literally went from injury reserve list to now he's like a starting premier linebacker in the NFL.
He didn't even get on the practice team.
No.
He went there from there to starting.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. And because of just this will that he had, and y'all might have seen that a little bit in him when you were kids, I'm sure you remember him floating around, a little bit here and there. And were you at that area at the principal at that time when he was there?
I think I was at Horn Lake Intermediate.
Yeah, when he was there. Yeah. So I'm sure looking back on it, if you could focus on him, you'd be like, he was determined. And probably had, I don't know this whole story. I don't know if he was missing a dad at home or what. I know his mom's big in his life, and I know that. But Chris said he showed up with a huge gift for y'all. He told me that. Coach Camp told me that when he came home, he showed up with a big gift for y'all.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I think one of the times he came home, State Farm couldn't actually give gifts to the students because they're college students back then. Now you can dedicate.
Now you can. Yeah.
Now you can. Yeah. Absolutely. And so they asked him who did he choose. They had an organization that had or a person that had most impact in his life. And we were just amazed that he would choose us as the recipient of that award that State Farm gave to him.
It was a huge financial gift.
Yes.
He remembered that he was at the Hope Center.
Yeah.
Because he used to come and walk around with his friends. I think they were looking at girls. And
sure.
But man, he was such a positive in this city. But he gave us a $10,000 donation at a time that we really needed it.
Yeah.
Our program is.
And that was in the beginning of his career too. Like he wasn't even really set.
He was moving. He was between Georgia. He was almost done at Georgia, and he was going. He didn't even know where he was going yet.
Right.
So as the funding that we get, we kind of get just enough to keep going. We don't have anyone that gives us an enormous amount.
Same here.
But between
same thing.
But between the Grizzlies and like gifts like that, and then we have some really great banks. We have Bank 3. We have Community Bank. First Community Bank.
First Community,
and a different banks that give us money from time to time.
Sure,
but they don't. Nobody gives us a lot, but a lot of people give us a little.
Yeah, and that's what it works. I'd rather have 1,000 small guys because they're always going to like, man, I'm gonna give my $10 to them.
Brown Baptist, Brown Baptist, the Grizzlies has been a big one for us.
The Dieter program.
The Dieter program has recently come in, and it's focused on youth violence, and so man, God's just. Every step of the way has made a way.
That's because you're doing amazing things.
But when he came in with that 10,000, it was like, we just got a text one day, and I'm like,
you're like, what? Son of a gun.
And it was like, we could be there.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going to be Philadelphia Eagle fans.
So, got my jersey already.
Absolutely. Just because.
Eagles to Eagles. And one of the cool things I want to share, I know you're running short on time, but whenever he's in town, we do an event, and we lease the upstairs at Tequila Restaurant.
Okay.
And we have all 100 of our mentees come in, our families, and we got the taco bar and everything. But he comes and he brings T-shirts and he signs and he takes his pictures with him, brings those flags that are signed.
I forgot where he come from.
Oh, those kids love it, man, and it's the greatest thing ever. And
I would say probably he's the biggest thing that's come out of Horn Lake in a long time.
And I think he's just getting started.
I think so too. He's young.
I mean,
he's got a future.
Young.
I know he hurt himself and he wasn't able to play in the Super Bowl, and but that was really bad. But
they've been in the Super Bowl twice since he's been there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. They have. So he lost one, won one.
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Sure did.
But I'm so thankful we have. This is such a talent-rich community.
Yes,
and there's so amazing kids that are. From baseball. The diversity too. Like we have a lot of huge baseball stars that come out of DeSoto County that make it to the pros, and basketball and football. And you don't hear about them a lot because we don't have a local news station like TV5, and they don't really focus too much on us because they got such talent in Memphis. It kind of gets outshined. But now Nakobe, he will make national, like our Memphis news, because he's a national star. But these up and comers out of Lake Commerce and out of South Haven, you don't really hear a lot about those guys too much that are. But now the college knows them. They're recruiting.
Oh yeah.
But you just don't hear about them until unless you're just really entrenched in that recruiting process. So I love the fact that we can take someone like him and spotlight our community like, hey, he come out there. Like Batesville, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but percentage-wise, I don't think there's a town in America has produced more NFL talent than Batesville, Mississippi. something. They're in the water down there, buddy. I mean, I'm talking about superstar talent. We don't even talk about college athletes, but I'm talking about NFL talent per capita. There's no place in the country. I mean, there's places that produce more, obviously, but just for the small town, they've had like 9 or 11 NFL players come out of Batesville, Mississippi.
They sure do.
Yeah, and some like really big names, And so you're just like, what do they have going on down there? You know, South Panola High School, you know, and then but anyway, again, I think DeSoto County is becoming that quickly because of our increase in population. It's bringing more people, more resources. The schools are growing, and there's more resources there, you know, and obviously due to just the increase in our community's effort towards making it better, you know.
Absolutely.
So anyway, guys, I want to tell you thank you. We could talk all day. We could do another show. I feel like we could do another show, and we'll just talk about all the people you've impacted, individuals that maybe want to come on sometime with you and be like, hey, these guys really saved me. And, you know, we might do that too.
We'd love to have some of our mentees come in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, but I love what you do. Thank you for everything you do. And I'm just going to remind you guys that you're always welcome here. And, again, just real quickly, if you want to shout out your number again for people to reach you personally for any of the stuff.
You can just call Stacy Dodd, 901-484-8429 anytime.
Okay. How about you?
662-401-0111.
Yeah, if you need some help with your homework, call Principal.
Yeah, you just need to borrow some money.
I will find somebody.
Yeah, we'll get somebody on there. I just always do that. And, of course, you want to reach me for the podcast or whatever, you can reach me at 662-404-2364, or how to get involved in our Feed My Lambs program. As I always try to mention, you can contact them, minormemorial.org/lambs if you guys want to get involved there. Again, thank you to our sponsors, RoofWorks Roofing Company, and obviously the new one, Hamilton Landscaping and Lawn. And we always going to have new partners coming in. I want to spotlight them, Hope Center, Woodland Treatment Facility, Woodland Recovery Center. Obviously, support your local schools any capacity you can. Because you were telling me earlier about your backpack program that you run over there. Do they have a name for it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because we do it sort of.
We have to do it on the down low because of the separation of church and state. That's why ours is called Feed My Lambs and not Minor Memorial's backpack program or something. So I think they named it that just so that it had an identity.
Absolutely.
You know, and however, though, obviously they need help there. I think Colonial Hills, you had mentioned, is doing that for you. So if you want to reach out and help Colonial Hills Church to kind of help feed the kids at Hope Sullivan Elementary, it'd be amazing too. Obviously, you can Google all this. We're in DeSoto County, Mississippi. Again, thank you all for joining us, and look forward to the next show. You can always listen to us, find us on The Local Yokels Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Apple, Spotify. We're on all of them. Just give us a little love. Definitely like us, share us, invite your friends to like the page so we can kind of spread the word about these amazing programs we got going on in our community. Talk to you guys later. Thank you. Bye.